There is only one sin before God, and that sin is, hamarshai, redefined disobedience unbelief. It is not two separate things, but one spiritual condition. Unbelief is the root, and disobedience is its fruit. Yet to understand why we disobey God, we must first recognize the root of unbelief itself. Jesus reserved his harshest words for the Pharisees and scribes, not because they honored the law, but because they corrupted it into a system of control. They commanded the 10 Commandments to be kept as the standard of righteousness, while their own hearts were infected with unbelief. The law, meant to reveal the disease of hamartia, became their instrument of pride. The law was never the disease, it was the diagnosis exposing what already lived within. This corruption is the evil spirit of religion that defiles what God made pure, James 1:27. Outwardly devout, they appeared righteous; inwardly, they rejected the very God they claimed to serve. Christ exposed their hypocrisy because they honored God with their lips while their hearts remained distant. This same spirit of hypocrisy persisted even after Christ's resurrection, infecting the early ecclesia. Paul witnessed it firsthand in Antioch when Peter, who once walked freely among Gentile believers, withdrew in fear as soon as the lawkeepers from James arrived. His retreat influenced others, including Barnabas, to follow in the same duplicity. That moment was more than social cowardice, it revealed the same disease in a different form, unbelief pretending to be obedience. Paul rebuked Peter publicly, exposing how his actions contradicted the truth of the gospel. The moment Peter commanded Gentiles to conform to Jewish law, he stood against the very faith he preached. Galatians 2:14, "But when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Peter before them all, If thou, being a Jew, livest after the manner of Gentiles, and not as do the Jews, why compellest thou the Gentiles to live as do the Jews?" Disobedience unbelief begins not with breaking a rule but with rejecting truth. When the heart turns from trust in God to trust in human commandment, disobedience is born. The Pharisees commanded the law to be kept, Peter momentarily enforced it. Both revealed the same disease, the unbelief that disobeys God while pretending to serve Him. And that disease is hamartia, which I call rejection unbelief. Hamartia is our inability to fully trust God. Everyone inherits this terminal progressive disease the moment we take our first breath. Because of Adam's disobedience, when he chose to stop believing God, he spiritually died, Genesis 2:17. As a result, every person born with a human father is afflicted with hamartian, or damnation unbelief. Spiritual death is the only sin Christ died for, and God legally removed that inherited blemish from humanity's record, Genesis 5:3. This removal was not of behavior, but of condition, the legal debt of spiritual death itself. Hamartia isn't technically a committable sin, so it isn't forgiven. It's a condition that every person will have as long as we are physically alive. And we are controlled by it. It governs thought, emotion, and motive until truth exposes its hold. Romans 7:13, "Was then that which is good made death unto me? God forbid. But sin, G 2:66, rejection unbelief, that it might appear sin, G 2:66, rejection unbelief, working death in me by that which is good, that sin, G 2:66, rejection unbelief, by the commandment might become exceeding sinful, G 2:68, controlled." Hamartia is the disease, the law is the diagnostic, and control is the symptom. Humanity remains enslaved to unbelief until the truth of God exposes the infection, and only then can obedience live again. 1 John 3:2, "Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that, when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is." The law wasn't evil. It was good. But it made the disease visible. It exposed unbelief hiding behind morality. That's what the 10 Commandments are, the reflection of unbelief. They're not righteousness, they're a mirror for rejection. When people try to keep them as if obedience makes them right, they're proving they still carry the disease. That's why, for a true child of God, keeping the commandments as a standard of holiness is itself unbelief. It's trusting one's effort instead of Christ's completion. Jesus said it in John 16:9, of sin, G 2:66, positivity unbelief, because they believe, pistuuzan, not on me. That's the whole case. The Spirit convicts the world of only one sin, unbelief. Not of drinking, lying, lusting, or any of the church's favorite targets. Just unbelief. Everything else flows out of that same infection. And John 6:64 adds the next layer, for Jesus knew from the beginning who they were that believe, pistuuzan, not. Unbelief isn't random, it's known. That means belief, trust, and faith are not self-made. They are given. They can be lost, but only because they were first given. That's what Galatians 3:22 confirms. But the scripture hath concluded all under sin, G 2:66, negativity unbelief, that the promise by faith of Jesus Christ might be given to them that believe, G 4100, pisteuzen. The promise is the gift of faith. The trust itself is what's granted. That word pisteuzen is the gift of faith, in its purest form. It is the foundational pillar of faith, trust. It enables you to actually trust God, not just believe in God. So the line runs like this: Galatians 3:22 reveals the promise as the gift of faith, John 6:64 shows that this gift can be rejected, and John 16:9 names that rejection as the only sin God acknowledges. This verse needs to be explained with a bit more detail. If you notice, John 16:9 uses the positivity inflection of unbelief. Positivity unbelief is the Ten Commandments. It's not the actions themselves, but the decisions. A real-life case in point helps. One of the 10 Commandments says, "Thou shalt not lie." This is a good underlying principle, but lying isn't always evil in motive. During the Holocaust, people lied to protect Jews they were hiding. The act violated the letter, but fulfilled the spirit of love. So in closing, everyone is controlled by the disease of rejection unbelief, our inability to fully trust God. That disease causes defiance, which is why we break the 10 Commandments. But for a truly born-again child of God, it is when we decide to disobey God that we come under His judgment. Returning to the Holocaust example, had those believers obeyed the commandments, they would have condemned the innocent. Romans 13:10, love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. The law was never the cure. It was the diagnosis. And most of religion built its empire on misreading the test results. The child of God who still tries to keep the commandments to stay righteous is still infected. They've traded faith for effort. Hamartia is a terminal progressive disease, one we'll never be free of, but one we can still overcome. Romans 6:14, for sin, G 2:66, rejection unbelief, shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace.